So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this press conference with DG Grossi. We will go straight to questions as usual. We have about half an hour. So if there are any questions? Yes.
Hi, DJ.
Hi.
Shen from China Central Television of China Media Group.
Good.
So you always say you are ready to visit Iran. Do you have a specific timeline for your next time visit? And what are the obstacles?
No, I don't have a time to visit. I hope that as part of the normalization of our contacts and relations with Iran, I would be able to come and visit again as with any other member state.
And will you take any measures to build trust with the relevant parties? And what outcomes do you expect to achieve from your next time visit?
Well, I think what you refer to, building of trust, is part of what we are trying to do through the ongoing consultations, negotiations, talks, conversations we have been having with Iran at different levels, I should say, since we have had a number of technical meetings in Tehran, also here in Vienna, and I have had a number of telephone conversations with Foreign Minister Arakchi. So I think it's a process. It will take some time, but in my opinion, we are moving in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
Albert.
Albert Otti, DPA,
Yes.
German Press Agency. Director General, you said in your opening statement in the board that there is still some time, but not much, in your talks trying to get an agreement on verification in Iran. Can you elaborate a bit? Why is time running out? What is the risk if there is not a solution soon on resuming verification activities?
Well, that has a number of dimensions. On one hand, when it comes to our own inspection work, as you know, this is guided by the Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement. This is legally binding. It's not a confidence-building measure it's a legally binding instrument that we have with Iran. And in it, there are a number of timelines, there are a number of provisions, a number of things that should be done when it comes not only to inspections, but in particular when a country has had changes, important changes with regards to the inventory of nuclear material. And as I think those who are familiar with these instruments, it is known that the normal timelines, periods of time that are envisaged in the CSA have elapsed and for some time. So I always said that, of course, in the context of the negotiations, the conversations, and my relations with Iran, we try to apply common sense, which is very important, because what happened in Iran is not banal. There were 12 days of attacks, physical destruction, and a number of important things, including political things. So we have been being flexible, I would say, in this. But of course, we need to do what is necessary, since there are important aspects, including the nuclear material that is in Iran. As you know, I suppose there will be other considerations and questions to this. So it is not like we can go for weeks and months on end talking about this. This is what I have in mind when I refer to time. And of course, there are also other considerations which are not necessarily or directly or in my purview, but quite clearly there are diplomatic, political conversations, and there is the issue of the snapback and things like this, which I suppose reasonably point to the need to try to be effective and to try to put us in a clear place as soon as possible. This is what I have in mind when I say time is important.
Bethany Bell, BBC.
Hello.
Hello. I wonder if you could say what you think, what impact could resuming inspections have on that snapback process?
Well, we have to, thank you for the question, because it allows me to say one very important thing. We need to restart, we need to resume inspections because this is what we need to do. Not because there is a snapback or some countries decide to do one thing, which is perfect, but that is not my political area or decision. This is for the E3, and they have a specific dialogue with Iran, independent completely, and rightly so, from what I'm doing here. So when I say we need to resume our inspections, this is what is needed, this is what is a legal undertaking for the agency and Iran. But of course, we don't operate in a vacuum. We operate in a real world where this is also in part of the picture, I would say. So, in my opinion, E3 or snapback, or in general, in the region and in the relation with the United States and other things, the fact that we, and I hope this will be the case, we would be able to say, we have started again, we are inspecting, we are carrying out our work, we will be able to report again on what is happening. I think it will be a positive influence, for sure.
Jonathan.
Hey, DG Grossi.
Hi, Jonathan.
I have a couple questions, one on Iran and one on the budget. On the Iran issue, this is the first time we've spoken since the June events took place. You clearly said in the extraordinary board meeting that the attacks violated international norms, but you did not address the targeted murder of nuclear engineers and nuclear scientists. So I'm giving you the opportunity right now to condemn the targeted murder of nuclear engineers and nuclear scientists. Is that something that you condemn?
I'm a diplomat. I'm a man of words, I'm a man of negotiations, I'm a man that believes in international law, in talking to resolve questions. So I would never condone, rejoice, or endorse any physical act of violence. I believe that this is not something that, as Director General of the IAEA, falls within my purview. Iran has said this is part of the attack on the nuclear program. We deplore the use of violence. And of course, this is part of that. But the opportunity you are so generously offering me has been offered by many others, because people want the DG to point fingers at countries. And it is not only in the context of this particular conflict that has happened. And I have refrained from doing that for a very specific reason, although I am saying the law, as I should, always. I should remind everybody what international law or national law say about one thing. I have a job to do. And getting into, I would say, political criticism, finger-pointing, attribution of guilt and things like that, I don't think are helpful.
Okay, so
opportunities.
I'll move on to the second question then.
Yes.
But all those nuclear scientists and nuclear engineers that you work with around the world, they should be looking over their back because they're fair game. Fine.
This is what you say.
The second question regards the budget and your recent announcement that you'll be running for Secretary General at the end of last month. You are currently in a budgetary crisis where you have revenue falling by 2% and costs increasing by 14%, and you are in the middle of a non-proliferation, or let's say a proliferation crisis. What makes you think that now is the time to announce your official candidacy for the UN Secretary General's post, and what can you do there that you haven't already done here?
Many questions in your question. I don't think this is the time and place to talk about the UN thing. I have a job now. I am focusing 100% on my job as Director General of the IAEA. in response to a question in a press conference in Washington, I said, yes, I have this idea. What you say about the budget, nevertheless, is very important because, of course, we are in the midst of all these problems that we are having in Iran, like you say, or in the Middle East at large with Syria, what we are trying to do in Ukraine and Russia, what we are trying to do in China and Japan with the Fukushima, of course, the surge, much welcome, of nuclear energy in the world, the needs of many countries. And the reality is that our budget is smaller. We agreed, and I decided to take a pragmatic, practical approach to this because there was a discussion among member states on this, and take what was realistically achievable without a prolonged fight about money, which is zero nominal growth. But as you know, zero nominal growth in reality is a misnomer because there is no growth. There is a reduction, and a big one, of more than 50 million euros. But what we are trying to do is readjust, trying to cope with this situation, and I hope that it will be possible to revisit this issue in a couple of years or whenever a new budget cycle comes up. But it's tough, as you know. So I'm trying to see, talking to member states, if some extra budgetary contributions, although not applicable to regular activities, can help us. So it is indeed a difficult situation. And on the UN, we will have many opportunities to talk in the future, I'm sure.
Yes, hi, this is Stephanie
Hello.
reporting for Associated Press. I would like to know regarding your talks with Iran regarding resuming the inspections. Has Iran given you any indication about the whereabouts of the highly enriched uranium stockpile? And maybe related to that, as a second question, you referred to the fact that there are timelines indicated in the CSA. Am I correct in assuming that you mean the highly enriched uranium stockpile has to be inspected every 30 days, right? And this is what has elapsed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
There are other things, but basically that's the most important.
Okay. And on the first question about the whereabouts and the location, is there any clarity about that?
No, there is none. I mean, none. There is no clarity in the sense that we have not received a confirmation from Iran on this, and this is part of this process that we still need to have, because you are familiar with the CSA. So the CSA says, well, of course, the country has to tell us what happened, where is it, or what do they think, and then we have to analyze that information. Our safeguards experts have to look at it, and there will be presumably an interactive sort of process. We will say, okay, we would like to see this, to see that. How about this issue? It's a matter of a technical assessment. So this is as far as the strict bilateral contact with Iran has to do. At the same time, as you know, there is a lot of information, including through publicly available satellite imagery, and there are lots of comments about this. So I would say the lack of clarity about it is relative. But we are hoping that if I, and of course my Iranian counterparts, we are successful in coming to some understanding in the next few days or hours, then we will be able to move by the book, so to speak.
Question over there.
Behrang Tajdin, BBC Persian.
Yeah.
Director General, the Iranian authorities seem to be worried that if they open up their nuclear facilities to the IAEA inspectors or disclose the location and the status of their enriched uranium, that information could be used by Israel and the United States to mount further attacks on Iran and these facilities. What assurances can you give Iran that this wouldn't happen? And more broadly, as the director of the IAEA, you have talked about the dangers of military attacks on nuclear facilities. What can you do, or what are you willing to do to prevent any such attacks on IAEA-monitored facilities in the future?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, the issue of confidentiality has been mentioned a lot. Iran, being one of the most inspected countries in the world and with a long relationship with our safeguard experts, know very, very well that the IAEA never pass any information to anybody, never, ever. We understand that at the time of war or attacks, there are emotions, people say things. We don't get into polemics, but the integrity of the work of the IAEA cannot be put into question under any circumstance. So for those who are technically savvy and know how the agency works, they know very well that the information is perfectly protected. And this case of the information of the agency being functional to attacks is absurd, as I've said many times. So I hope that this narrative will stop at some point. We are talking about this because there are certain things, and we take this very seriously. We do not, sideline or push back on this. We are ready to talk about their security concerns, and this is part of what we are discussing now, because there could be within this comprehensive safeguards agreement, within the book that we have as how you do inspections, there are certain things that could be reinforced even to make sure that there is, more reassurance. We know very well what we do, but if more reassurance is needed, we can, of course, give it, and Iran is entitled to seek as much reassurance it can. On your other question, national sovereign decisions are what they are. You may agree or disagree with them. I, as Director General of the IAEA, must say the law. And, of course, we do not believe in the use of force. We believe in the use of diplomacy and technical, work like the IAEA has to resolve problems. And this is something, it's a message I pass wherever I go and with whomever I speak, including world leaders. One thing is important, I believe, is that we are successful now. I honestly think that if we are able to resume in earnest our work with Iran and inspections in full start to take place, the possibility of further military action will be diminished. And this is my sincere hope, really.
François?
François Murphy from Reuters, IDG. Just to clarify a few of the things that you've said today and in the previous days. You mentioned that you're a diplomat, so obviously you're focusing on the positive. You're saying things are moving in the right direction in your talks with Iran, but they're clearly taking longer than you would like. I mean, you'd hope that we would be done by now, and now you say you're hoping to be done in the next few days. So sort of to turn the positive statement on its head, like, what's the problem? Since you say that it could be days, it could even be hours. I mean, it sounds like it's really quite unclear to you, like, how much further there is to go. So what specifically are the problems beyond the fact that Iran wants to protect the confidentiality of where its HEU stockpile is? And then also, you have also been talking about the fact that this is an agreement on modalities. Yeah? So this is essentially like a precursor to inspections resuming, and there are a few things that have to happen if and when you do come to an agreement, including Iran's statement on where its HEU is, which can take a few weeks. So just to give us a clearer sense of what would come after an agreement, like how soon could we reasonably expect the agency to return to particularly the sites that were bombed, like Fordo or Isfahan or Natanz, after this initial agreement is reached?
Yeah. Well, I think the second part of your question, to a certain extent, answers the first part of your question, because there you have the difficulties. You were asking me what are the difficulties, and the difficulties lie on the fact that we need to perform a number of inspections. We have to go to places that, as you say, were destroyed partially or totally, where the conditions for physical access could be challenging. So we need to discuss with them. It's not a straightforward discussion. We go and that simply we inspect. There are even issues having to do with radiation. We know that the situation is pretty safe in that regard, but of course they have been telling us that they would need to take some precautionary measures. So all of this has to happen. And there, sometimes the devil is in the details. So when you go to one or the other question, of course, I cannot reveal exactly what we are discussing or what are the minutiae of the negotiation of the paper. But I would place the difficulties in that. It's a host of issues having to do when you start. Okay, when you start, what do you do? They, importantly, Francois, they have a new system, internal system, and I cannot take issue with that. Countries have the right to establish, provided they comply, their internal process. And now the internal process involves very high political instances in Iran. Before, it was more of a technical issue. The Department for Safeguards Operation of the AEOI would be the normal interlocutor. There would not be a political issue. Now there seems to be, we will see with time, but there seems to be a political segment that has been added. So, which is their right. I would like inspections to be always considered as a technical thing, but I cannot challenge that. So the difficulties lie around that. But we are closer to an agreement. I hope we will have one.
Hi, DG.
Hi.
It's Koinaki from the Pontific.
Hello.
Related to the Iran inspection, can you clarify a little bit more details of the type of inspection? There are CSA inspections, and then there are additional inspections in relation to the nuclear agreement. Are you trying to cover to Iran, request Iran to do all of it, to go back to that regime, or are you saying that if you're doing the minimum CSA, then for the first step it's okay? What are you trying to negotiate?
Thank you for the question. As you know, Iran has a comprehensive safeguards agreement in place. Iran is not applying an additional protocol. It's not. All right? So they have been applying it from time to time, according to the political winds. When things were going right, they were applying it, then they stopped applying it. In any case, their only obligation, we must admit, is the CSA. So it's going to be that. It's going to be the normal inspections that any country has under the CSA, which covers a lot, as you know. It's not as comprehensive as it would be with an additional protocol in place, where we have complementary accesses, where we can basically go wherever we feel there is a good reason. So it's basically what we were doing before the attacks.
Question in the back.
Thank you very much. Dieter Reinisch, Press TV. Mr. Grossi, there's a lot of talk in Iran regarding its relationship within the NPT. Do you think the way the agency has treated Iran might convince other countries that staying within the NPT brings no real benefits and actually leaves them more vulnerable to hostile powers? That's my first question. And my second question is related to the question of the colleague who asked regarding condemnation of targeted murders. In an interview I conducted with permanent representative of Russia and the Russian IAEA envoy Mikhail Ulyanov on Friday, he said to me that it is not safe for the IAEA to condemn US and Israel. What do you say to
it is what?
It is not safe for the IAEA, yes, for the IAEA to condemn the US and Israel. What do you say to this statement from Mikhail Ulyanov?
Two things on the NPT. Of course, countries should be parties to the NPT, including those who are not. I think the NPT brings lots of benefits. in every possible sense. And I'm very happy, I would say, to note that the official position of the Islamic Republic of Iran is that they remain in the NPT. Of course, there are political voices in Iran, as you know, representing the media you represent, that are against, or they say they should leave the NPT. But this is MPs or people that have, for now, and I hope it will continue to be the case, membership of in the NPT continues to be the case. The rest, I would say a little bit, as I was saying, Mr. Tyrone, this issue of political condemnations, there are lots of people that can do that. In my position, I have to be effective. I have a job to do. Enter into the game of political condemnation is a very bad idea.
Question.
Merci. Moussa, c'est Al-Mayadin TV.
Oui, allez-y.
J'ai remarqué ce matin, durant votre discours, que vous étiez vraiment optimiste, ou même très optimiste. Et vous avez répété tout à l'heure que dans de peu de jours ou des heures, vous avez peut-être de bons résultats avec les Iraniens. Ma question, sur quoi vous êtes basé pour cette ère d'optimisme? Et est-ce que vous êtes basé juste sur les discussions avec l'Iran, ou bien aussi sur d'éventuelles discussions qui se passent entre les Iraniens, les Européens et les Américains? Et on s'attend à quoi dans peu de jours ou peu d'heures? Merci beaucoup.
Merci pour la question. Non, écoutez, moi je suis professionnellement optimiste. Ça, c'est pas un optimisme émotionnel. Je dois essayer d'arriver à quelque chose de concret, et c'est ce que j'ai fait. Mais c'est pas basé sur des idées ou, comme je vous dis, des émotions. Nous travaillons sérieusement. J'ai pu rétablir un dialogue avec le ministre des Affaires étrangères, Dr Arakchi, qui est très important. C'est lui qui fait la négociation et qui répond politiquement au gouvernement. Ça, c'est très important. Et je vois dans la négociation une volonté d'y arriver. Donc, c'est sur cela que je base mes considérations. Je ne prends pas en compte, je crois avoir répondu à une question avant sur la question du E3, etc. Moi je ne pense pas à cela. Je sais que cela existe, ça a une influence inévitable sur tous les acteurs ici, au Conseil des gouverneurs, les trois, les Iraniens, évidemment, mais pour ce qui est de ma négociation, moi je me concentre sur mon dossier, c'est-à-dire recommencer les inspections. Je vois qu'il y a des avancées, je ne peux pas dire, évidemment, qu'on y est, mais je crois qu'on s'approche et j'espère qu'il n'y aura pas de difficultés, comme M. Murphy vient de le dire. Il y a difficultés, oui, mais c'est ça, je pense que c'est inévitable dans n'importe quelle négociation. Donc espérons qu'on pourra arriver à un bon résultat.
Vous espérez quoi dans 2-3 jours? Vous espérez quoi
Pardon?
Vous espérez quoi, d'arriver à quoi? Quel accord avec les Iraniens qui vous permet de faire quoi?
Bon, on parle d'une série de modalités techniques. C'est de cela qu'on parle. On ne parle pas d'un accord politique. On parle de mesures techniques très spécifiques qui guideront nos inspecteurs dans le travail d'inspection. C'est ça là.
We can take one more question.
Hello, DJ Grossi.
Hello.
This is Ahmad Samadi from Vienna International TV. Recently, you mentioned that IAEA inspectors were scheduled to visit a major facility in Isfahan in June, but airstrikes by Israel began on the same day.
Yes.
My question is, what activities were planned there? And is uranium enrichment taking place at the site? Second question is, how confident is the IAEA that Iran is not carrying out enrichment at any locations or facilities in Iran?
Well, I think the fact that we could not go prevents me from answering the question. They announced that immediately on the same day, as it should. The Department of Safeguards requested an initial visit and inspection, which was granted and was going to take place. So I suppose we could not. But my impression is that once things are normalized, we will be able to go to this place. Of course, that was in the context of a different situation when it comes to the Iranian nuclear civilian program. That was, maybe part of a plan. We should not speculate here. So I don't think that I can answer to that question. And for the second part of your question, we don't have any credible information about any other sites or places where enrichment activity would have been taking place before the attacks in June. I thank you for your attention. I'll be seeing you very soon. Thank you very much.